Alright guys, this video is a power consumption test between my two fridges. I have a 40 litre Engel and a 50 litre Waeco. These fridges are both about 2009, 2010, so both about 8 years old. I'm setting up a new 4-wheel drive and basically just deciding which one I wanted to use. I had recently purchased some watt meters for solar setup on my red arc dual battery system, and I thought this might be a good opportunity to actually see the power usage of both fridges, and then I could decide from there if there was any difference, if I wanted to use one particular one over the other. So pretty much for the test, I have both fridges set up running off a CTEC 15 amp multi-stage charger, which has a supply mode. And basically that's going to be used to feed both fridges. I decided to do the test in 3 stages. I will do a -2 degrees test, a 3 degrees test, and a freezer mode, which since the Waeco goes down to -18, I'll set that at -18 and then set the Engel accordingly for the test. Obviously I've already got the fridges down to temperature before I start the test, so I'm going to do each one for 2 days and then just average out the numbers and let it run for exactly 24 hours, record how many amps were used, reset the gauge, let it run for another 24 hours, and then average out those results. To actually have the fridges to be working correctly, I have 2 2-litre cordial jugs in each fridge, so total of 4 litres in the fridge, so the fridge actually has something to cool down. Now also with the watt meters that I'm using, they were both purchased from the same supplier at the same time, so the exact same model, so there shouldn't be any inconsistencies between the readings of those 2 gauges, just to make sure everything's on par. The base of the test, so let's get on with it. Alright guys, well let's get into the numbers. So basically something to keep in mind that this test was done in June, in winter, in the mid-north coast of New South Wales. So ambient temperatures range from 8 to 9 degrees at night to about 18 or 19 degrees during the day. So obviously that's going to play a bit of a part into the results that we got. But alright, let's have a look. So the -2 degrees test, as we can see from the charts, basically the Engel end up using 17 amps over a 24-hour period compared to the Waeco, which only used 10 amps. So the Waeco used 41% less power than the Engel, which is I was actually quite surprised. I really didn't think there would have been that much difference between the two. +3 test, we can see the Engel about 10 amps for a 24-hour period, with the Waeco at about 6.5 amps. So once again the Waeco used 34% less power compared to the Engel. And then freezer test, the -18. So average for the Engel 40 amps, with the Waeco at 28 amps, with the Waeco using 40% less power. It was interesting to see the difference between the +3 and the -2. I mean, not so much when I'm camping, but if I generally use the off camping fridges for beer, I normally set them about -2. I'm a sucker for a nice cold beer. But obviously I know I have seen a lot of people who will run their fridges while out touring in the +2 to +3 range. I would probably normally run mine about 0. But it was actually interesting to see the power difference just between those 2 simple settings. So the Waeco used 41% less power, set at 3 degrees rather than -2, and the Engel used 35% less power at +3. So definitely if your system's stretched or you're doing longer travelling than normal and you don't have enough solar power or you're not doing enough driving, you can definitely save a fair bit of power by simply just putting your fridge up by a couple of degrees. So that's something worth keeping in mind for sure. Anyway, well, that's pretty much the results from the fridge. So thanks for watching. If you got any questions or comments, please leave them down below in the comment section. If anyone's interested, I may actually look at doing this test again in summer just to see how much more draw there is, taking into account the heat for these fridges. Also, I'll put some links down to the watt meters below in case anybody's after them. They were a pretty good price off eBay. I can't remember the price off the top of my head. And I got the ones, and they actually came with legitimate Anderson plugs as well, which made it a lot easier. One thing I like to do with my fridges, I never leave the original cigarette plugs on. I find depending on the angle in your vehicle, when you're four-wheel driving, bumpy roads, corrugations, they have a tendency to fall out. So I will normally cut the plug off at say a foot and a half from the cigarette plug end. I put the Anderson plug on there, then I actually wire an Anderson plug up to my vehicle and then plug that in direct. But I also put an Anderson plug on the end of the 12-volt cigarette plug, so you need to transfer it into another vehicle or somebody wants to borrow it. They can still work as normal once you've connected the 12-volt cigarette connector with the Anderson plug. But anyway guys, thanks for watching and have a good day.